Hello and thanks for joining our Swift Chat Meet the Team podcast. Today we're meeting Swift joint MD Anthony Sant to find out about him, how he ended up at Swift and what makes him tick. I'm Stuart. Welcome, Anthony.
Hi, Stuart.
Right, let's kick off. We're trying to find out a bit more about you. So let's start with the basics. How did you reach the position you are in today?
So it's a long and convoluted story. So,
Hey, this is only a short podcast, Anthony.
So I met Chris at Swift via AO. Prior to me being at Swift, I was managing director of AO Business, which was the B2B arm of AO. AO is a business that, I've always loved and adored and been part of. I started back in 2004 when Expert Logistics became a customer of a recycling business that I was very much part of. Then Expert Logistics got bought by DRL, a company that was going to sell appliances online. DRL became AO. So invariably, Expert, then AO became my customer. And then in 2015, they bought the recycling business. We went on an amazing journey and built what I think was one of the best, if not the best, recycling facility for electrical items in the UK. Had an incredible time doing that. And then after about 3 years, I left the recycling business to go and run their B2B division, which is when I met Chris. And yeah, it's been a great journey, but I wanted to basically look at pastures new. Been talking to Chris for a number of months about things and left AO and joined Swift middle of last year.
So quite an exciting journey. You've obviously got quite a few perspectives on the electrical sector, from the recycling to actually selling products. How does this play in your role at Swift? Just give me a bit of background, because you're joint MD along with Chris, aren't you?
So I think it's really interesting. And I think that the important thing about it, whether it's Swift or whether it's AO or whether it's the recycling group or AO Recycling and all the things I've done in the past, I think that in business, it's all about relationships. It's all about doing what's right. Okay. And I think that if we take the standpoint that we have to look at what is morally fair and right in what we do, intrinsically, the reason why I had such an amazing time at AO was because principles were very, very similar to my own. And the reason why I had a great time at Swift is, again, those same principles bear through. I think that the interesting thing about Swift is that whereas AO was selling recycling, and then I was selling appliances to businesses, now I'm selling appliances under the Creda brand to businesses, but to retailers. Slightly different dynamic, very much different market, different customers, but principles exactly the same. It's about making promises and delivering them.
That's really interesting. You almost beat me on the next question, which is, you're clearly passionate about your work and what you do at Swift. I just wanted a bit of insight what sits behind that, but have you answered that?
Well, I think that we have to, in everything we do, we have to add value. We have to look at things and basically live by what we believe is right. It goes back to this whole morally fair and right. Somebody once told me many years ago, if you help enough people get what they want, invariably you get what you want. And I think that that is a philosophy that's always worked. I've always talked to people about the fact that if you work really, really hard, often things don't happen straight away. But what you've got to do is you've got to keep going and be relentless. And eventually there's a strange thing that happens. Okay. Suddenly there is a conspiracy for success. And what I mean by this is, suddenly, after you've absolutely slogged your guts out, okay, to try and make something work, suddenly, for some reason, and I don't know what happens, people start trying to help you. And it feels like that. And suddenly things start happening and there's no change. And it's one of those really things about it. And it's a bit like, the difference between winter and summer. And then suddenly you think the days have become a bit longer and it's suddenly light here. And you can never actually remember at what point did I start driving to work and it's light. Okay. And it's the same thing in any project that I've ever done. If you are absolutely relentless in what you're doing and focus on doing it right, eventually days become longer and it suddenly becomes not necessarily easier, but there is a conspiracy for success.
I think we might need to get you on the speaker circuit at this point. Okay, so final question. It's a very quick podcast. So, Anthony, what gets you up in the morning? So, just sum up that business philosophy. I think you've almost hinted at that in what you've said previously.
Yeah, I think, look, I find business exciting, but I also love developing teams. I think that people are everything, whether that be people within our business or that's people within other people's businesses. Often, basically, with customers, people within that business often joke when you get in an office here. Okay. Because the thing is that for me, the only reason a customer supplier relationship works is that because we come so involved and understand each other, and those are the best relationships. So for me, what gets me up in the morning, exciting relationships. You know, you only get out of a relationship what you put in. Every relationship needs to be fair and amicable. I always joke about the fact is that I have the most wonderful relationship with my wife. You know, I've always joked about the fact is that if she ever leaves me, I'm going with her too. So important.
I hope she's not listening.
Who knows? But the important thing about it is that we have an amicable relationship and it's fair and equitable. And I think that for me, I will always strive to make sure that whatever relationship we have within business is amicable. Because if it's not careful, if the relationship is either skewed one way or another, what will happen is that the person that's at a slight disadvantage will be spending their life trying to get out of the relationship. Whereas if we've got something that's straight and amicable and it works, then it will always be forever. And for me, relationship should be always forever.
Thanks, Anthony. Great to meet you today. We'll be talking to more of the Swift team soon. In the meantime, thanks to everyone for listening. Watch out for more podcasts on our social media channels.